David Smith here with another flipped classroom math video. Today's topic, rational, which if you remember what this word means in mathematics, it has to do with fractions. So rational indices or exponents. Let's get started. So I'm going to put something up and ask you to think about what this might mean. What about 4 to the 1/2 power? So far, we've only used integers in our exponents. 0, 1, -3, 12, things like that. We haven't considered fractions. If you've never done this, this looks kind of weird and you might be scratching your head right now. So instead of just giving you a law and applying problems, I'm going to actually show you how we deal with this. Okay? What about something like this? What if I had 4 to the 1/2 times another 4 to the 1/2? Just for grins, let's see what this would be. We know from the multiplication rule for exponents that we just add our powers. So this is going to be 4 to the 1, which is just 4. Okay? So even though we're not quite sure yet what this half power is, we used a law that we already know about to do some math with it and turn this expression into something that's pretty clear. Okay? Let's try something different. What might that be? Square root of 4 times the square root of 4. Let's take a look. We know what this is. This is just going to be 2 times 2, right? Square root of 4 is 2 in both cases. 2 times 2. So that ends up being 4 as well. Okay? Now that's interesting, because then that means if both these expressions end up being 4, that means 4 to the 1/2 times 4 to the 1/2 is the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 4. Okay? I just substituted. I know that this is 4 and that is 4, so this and this have to be equal. So now you can start to see, actually, if you don't already see what 4 to the 1/2 power is, pause the video and do some serious critical thinking and see if you can come up with that. Okay, let's see what you came up with. 4 to the 1/2 has to equal the square root of 4. Okay, so the 1/2 power is the same as the square root. So now what we're going to do is we're going to generalize what we just learned about the 1/2 power, and we're going to write the following rule. A to the 1 over n is the same thing as the nth root of a. Okay? So to do this, an example, so you can kind of see how this operates, let's do 16 to the 1/2 power. Using this rule, we're going to make that into that. Now here's something, in case you didn't already know this. The square root, we just dropped the 2. So in truth, in mathematics, this is the same as this. Okay? So we just, in that situation, we just leave the 2 out, but it is there. Okay? So if you have, you can also write something like this. The cubed root, which would be the same as, let's say the cubed root of a, would be the same as a to the 1/3 power. Okay. So we could write something a little further. We could write cube root of 27. That's asking what number times itself 3 times gets us up to 27. And so the cubed root of 27 would just be 3. So that's a quick review of roots that are different from square roots, and that shows up in this law. If you need some help with that, either reach out to me or do some research on the internet or in your textbook, just so that you can review all these different kinds of roots, because we are going to bump into some of those in this section. In fact, right now. So see if you can use what we've done there to figure out what 8 to the 1/3 power is. Pause the video. Okay, let's see how you did. So using my rule here, this is going to be the third root of 8. And what that's asking us is what number times itself 3 times gets us to 8, which is 2. Because 2 times 2 is 4, there's 2 of them, times 1 more 2 is 8. So the cubed root of 8 is 2. Okay? Let's try... Okay, so some of the problems that you're going to get are going to start with a number with a fractional exponent, and you're going to have to figure it out through steps like this to find out what that number is. Sometimes you're going to get asked to go the other way. One of the instructions you might see on exercises would be as follows. Write in index form. So we're going to give you something, for example, like that, square root of 3, write that in index form. So you already know enough right now from this lesson to answer that question. Pause the video. Okay, let's see what you got. Remember, there is a 2 there, we just don't write it. So what that means is this is 3 to the 1/2 power, or the square root of 3. Also, pay attention to your instructions on the exercises, because if it doesn't say turn it into a decimal, don't turn it into a decimal. Just leave it as 3 to the 1/2 power. Okay? You could put that in your calculator, you could find the square root of 3, but if you check the answers, you're probably going to see that that's not what they're looking for, unless they ask you. So always pay attention to instructions. Let's try another one. Pause the video. Okay, let's see what you got. The 4 out here means we are using the 1/4 power. So that's the 4th root of 7, or 7 to the 1/4 power. What they're asking us here is what number times itself 4 times would get us all the way up to 7. Okay? If you're curious about what that number is, you can put it in your calculator and see what you get. Let's try one more. One over the third root of 6. So now I've created a quotient over here that you've got to manipulate, and again, the instruction is express this as a base to an index to a power. Okay, so let's take a look. What we have here, actually pause the video, see if you can do this. Okay, so let's see how you did. You still have 1 over, now 6, the third root of 6 can also be written as 6 to the 1/3, okay? But there's a convention. We really don't like fractional exponents underneath a fraction. It's getting kind of complicated. So think about how you could get rid of this whole fraction. What would you do? Check this out. Remember from our previous rules that we covered, if you have an exponent underneath a fraction, you can bring it up if you just change the sign. Okay? So it's positive down here, so we get rid of the fraction, we bring it up, and it becomes 6 to the minus 1/3 power. Okay, another instruction you might see on the exercises or on your homework is this. Write as a power of 2. It might say write as a power of 3. Any other number is fine, but we're going to do some with powers of 2. So let's try one. Okay, now it might not be immediately obvious how you would do that. I don't see any 2's there, right? That's just the third root of 4. But let's take a look here. What can you do with this knowing about our fractional exponent rule? Third root is the same as saying 4 to the 1/3 power. Okay? But we still haven't satisfied the instruction which says power of 2. Think about that. How might you change that? Okay. You might have realized that 4 can be written as a power of 2. Because 4 is just 2 squared. Remember your parentheses. Okay? So 4 to the 1/3 is the same as saying 2 squared to the 1/3. Now we're going to do one more step, and it's going to make it nice and simple. Do you remember how to deal with that, how you simplify that? Let's see how you did. Power raised to a power is multiplication. So this becomes 2 to the 2/3 power, because 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. So that's how we expressed the third root of 4 as a power of 2. Let me give you one to try. How about that one? Okay, let's see how you did. Square root of 8. 8's not a perfect square, so we can't just turn that into a number. But we know a few things. We know this is the 1/2 power square root. So I can now write 8 to the 1/2 power. Okay, that's getting us a little bit more simple. Now I can bring this power up. This becomes 8 to the minus 1/2 power. Okay. Now I still haven't expressed it as a power of 2 yet, so I've got a little more thinking to do. How would I write 8 as a power of 2? Think about that for a minute. So 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So 8 is 2 to the 3rd power. So now I can write 2 to the 3rd, parentheses around that, to the minus 1/2. Lots of steps here. Each step isn't super complicated. There's not a lot going on. But you can see up in this problem, it took us 4 steps. This one we're already at 4. Now we have one more step. Remember, raising a power to a power is multiplying. So here we get 2 to the minus 3/2 power. And that would be our solution. Okay. That's what I have for you today. If you liked the video, click the like button down below. You can also subscribe.